Previously, we discovered that both of our heat exchangers were leaking, and our mechanic told us that they both needed to be replaced. However, for the short term, he patched up and reinstalled the old ones so that we could move our boat. It was a temporary fix until we returned from America with 2 new ones. In this episode, our mechanic Thomas installs both of them, and Brown captures it all on video.
Hey guys, before we start the video, we want to acknowledge our one and only sponsor, because we don't want to lose them. We've really grown to depend on them.
I used to have trouble staying at the helm for long shifts. Now I don't.
I used to worry about brown spills and oil spills. Now I don't. Hey guys, today we are going to do a big time facelift on our engines, and we're going to fix a problem that we could have prevented, and that is maintaining our heat exchangers properly. Now, one of the reasons why they were not maintained properly is we fell into the trap or the seductive lure of barnacle buster, which is taking a shortcut. Barnacle buster, if you're not familiar with it, is a material that you run it through your heat exchanger on your engine, and it eats away at the calcification that builds up on the heat exchanger in the rods that prevent the cooling. The rods and the cylindrical part are the only interface between the raw seawater and your coolant. So raw seawater comes in and cools the coolant, which in turn cools the engine and the oil. The raw seawater has lots of microorganisms in it, which are reef building organisms that are always very industrious and always trying to stick, adhere, and grow on a hard surface. Those of you that have saltwater flushing toilets, you can notice this in the hoses that you have, and also after a few weeks, you'll see a hard surface on the inside of your toilet. Well, basically these organisms are forming a reef on your toilet, and if you do not treat it with a vinegar or acid solution, eventually your hoses are going to fill up and you're going to not be able to get rid of this calcification on the inside of your bowl, which looks bad. Back to the heat exchangers. The reason why you do not want to use barnacle buster or an acid to flow through your heat exchanger to clean the rods is because this prevents you from going in and pulling it out and replacing also the O-rings and gaskets on the heat exchanger. If you do not do this, sure, your rods may be clean from using the barnacle buster, but the gaskets will never get replaced, and after a while, with all of this raw seawater coming in, they'll wear away and raw seawater will start leaking through the gaskets and form corrosion on the aluminum alloy. And once this happens, you're going to start getting a leak, a slow leak like we did, and by then it's too late, because the space that the O-ring goes in, first the O-ring's not there anymore. That space with the electrolyte of the raw seawater is going to start getting eaten away at, and there's no way, because of the alloys, that you can go in and build that back up. These heat exchangers are extremely expensive. Just to give you an idea, and let's go take a look at them right here. We bought these in the US. When you see the price of these, you're going to see why prevention is something that you really need to adhere to. Basically, you want to get in there and replace this O-ring and this specialized looking O-ring right here. And not only that, you're going to also want to replace this gasket here. It's very essential. And then your mixing elbow, which fits into right here, you're going to want to replace this gasket. right here. And these are highly specialized gaskets. You want to get them from Yanmar. You really want to do this every 2 years or 1,000 engine hours. So 1,000 engine hours is a lot in 2 years, but if you go over that, you want to do this, and also after 2 years. This is going to keep you from spending that enormous amount of money, and there's nobody else that you can buy it from except for Yanmar. That's it. There's no aftermarket parts on there that are cheaper from another manufacturer. You basically have to just suck it up and pay what they want to charge you. So we're going to today show you the entire process on both of these engines. We are going to be working with Thomas, who's an expert mechanic here in Tahiti. I could probably do this myself, but it's so important that it be done correctly, not to have to go in and redo it. Another thing is, Yanmar in the service manual does not mention this at all. I'm really good about changing the oil and doing all sorts of inspections that it says in there, but it does not mention pulling this thing out, cleaning it, and replacing the O-rings and gaskets. So don't let what happened to us happen to you. Be proactive. And by the way, if you appreciate material like this that helps save you money and heartache, make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. That really helps us out. Make sure you hit the like button and then share this with your other sailing friends. One of the reasons why you know that it's time to clean your heat exchanger is through using an infrared heat gun and noticing the temperature increase on your engines. In order to take the temperature on your engines, you want to make sure they're up and running for about 15 minutes. And then take this heat gun and you want to take it and point it right here. Here's the thermostat. That's going to give you the best reading. And I think I need a new battery. So.
Okay, perfect. C'est super. If it was my boat, I do it often.
Okay, like every year?
Yeah.
Okay, so
because
once
if you
a year.
do that every year, you change the seal every year. Everything is easy. You grease the board.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's maybe 1 or 2 hours operation.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay.
But so.
And you don't need to take all the part out.
Good.
Just this one.
How often do we replace these?
Normally, only when you take this one out.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
it can stay in
Or if there is a leak, for sure.
there.
Okay. Okay.
If,
So,
if it works, don't touch.
Okay.
Don't change.
okay. So just the gasket.
But when you take the part out, you have to change
Yeah.
the gasket every time.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Even if it's some guys tell it's because it's steel, you can clean them and
Right.
put it back. I don't do that.
Good.
Okay.
I prefer change.
You said you grease this, you take it out.
Grease the bolts.
Bolts and seal.
Silicone.
If no grease.
Real grease.
Because when it's new, everything is good and
Yeah.
there is no salt inside. When you grease them,
Okay.
the salt will not eat the part, you know?
Okay.
Yes, which is what
Okay.
happened to us because we
Yes.
didn't take it out and grease it.
So grease the.
Okay, let's go. Au boulot.
what
Lazy
possible.
way is always bad.
Yeah.
If you use barnacle buster, it's okay, but you still have to go in and change the gaskets. That's what he's saying.
Cool.
The manual says every 5 years or 3,000 miles, and Thomas just said that every single time he's done it after either one of those, there's been problems.
Maybe
So
mostly in this salt water, maybe
Yeah.
yeah.
maybe in French Polynesia the salt is strong.
Yeah, it could be. One of the great things about Thomas is he comes out to your boat. He makes boat calls with this boat. Wow, so check it out. These guys put down plastic right here to keep everything nice and neat. What Thomas is working on first is he's taking the coolant out of the heat exchanger because that's where a lot of it lives, so that he can remove the heat exchanger and we don't waste any coolant. The thing we're going to do is replace this cover for the V-belt because the charter company is just beating it all to death, and right now it's not attached well and it's rubbing up against the V-belt. So, and oftentimes what Yanmar does is they improve over the years the product, and it looks like that's what they've done here. Here we have the coolant coming out in the engine, and it's pretty clean. It's got a couple more years left in it. First thing he's done is taken the hose out of the mixing elbow. That's for raw water. That needs to be pulled out and the gasket changed on it. And now he's pulling out another hose. So he's taking apart this leads to the thermostat. So we are draining this heat exchanger, saving the coolant because it's expensive. To get the coolant out, you also have to loosen this up so that the air will flow through and allow the coolant to go into the bucket. Otherwise, it's going to be very slow. This is coming out of this little drain tube into the bucket. That's the bottom part of the heat exchanger. And if you look at this, here it is here. And Thomas just pulled off the hose from here and here. These are both the raw water hoses. I think these are going to be coolant hoses right here. Next thing out is the exhaust combustion muffler right there. And right now he's taking apart separating the mixing elbow with the heat exchanger. And I think this is where we had that bolt that was damaged, right?
Right.
So it was never really totally sealing, so we had just a little bit of leakage. That's good for a temporary but not a permanent long-term solution, which is what you're always trying to get on a boat especially. So right now he's taking the alternator out,
Just
getting it out of the way because right now it's keeping him from getting the heat exchanger out. Thomas started out working for the French Navy in French Polynesia, and they trained him all things mechanical. Wow, it's been a little over a half an hour, and Thomas has got the first one out. Here's the old one.
it was easy because we greased last time.
Yes, and so one thing you want to always make sure you do whenever you put a screw or a bolt in and out, you want to use heavy-duty marine lubricant to make sure that there's no corrosion, because then you've got big problems.
You have to take this one and put this in.
Okay, cool. Ah, right, that lifts the engine, right?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because if you forgot now,
Yeah.
you can put this when it's
Yeah, it's too, yeah. So you guys, did you get that? You have to replace this. This is the hook that enables you to pull the engine out. You have to do it while this is out because there's not enough room to put it in once you've reinstalled it. So that's a great tip. There's the old one. Here's the new one. Coolant here and then raw water right
yes.
there. And they're color coded. One's brass and then one's chromium. Add on. Hallelujah, hallelujah. That's the song that I hear in the air when Thomas arrives. It's majestic, it's almost holy. These long screws come from the engine block, and he's gonna take, and they go in here.
This is guide, this one.
They're guides.
You know, guide in French. It's like that. You can put this one like that easily.
It's just two of them, right?
Two, yes, and
they go right here.
and the others are here.
Oh, okay. And we'll attach those from the other side.
Yes.
They'll go in. So this is a high temperature gasket sealant. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this helps the connection, keeps it from leaking. Is it necessary to use this, or is it an extra precaution?
Extra precaution.
Extra precaution. So just like this little step right here could save you from having to pull it back out and doing it again. And is there an inside and outside on that, or both sides the same?
The same.
Yeah, they're both the same. Oh, that's right. They're both.
You have to be sure
it gets sandwiched.
this side is clean and the other side is clean too.
Okay.
First, then
So this needs to be really clean right here, so there's a good surface. And then when he puts that on, it's gonna flatten out and fill in. And then there's the baby. It's finding its new home. See how it slips on there? Beautiful.
that's it. It's already greased last time.
Oh, he's already greased them, so doesn't need to do that again. Taking the V-belt off the alternator.
I love to put grease here too.
Where's the grease?
Here, like that, it's easy to remove the.
Oh, right. So he's putting that where the hose is
Little
going to go. The raw water hose. Just a little bit. Makes it easier to pull off. That's smart. And then he has this to put on next. That's the gasket for the mixing elbow.
Inside. I'm sorry.
Yeah, facing because of the ridge.
Because of this one.
Yeah.
This one is inside.
Okay, good.
But I put this one too.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yep. So more sealant, and this one there is a side on it, and the inside you want to put that where the recessed hole is, and then you want the sealant on both sides. The ring fits into the elbow.
Wow.
Push that in. That was easy.
Maybe I need one bolt, please, like that.
Okay. All right. You got it. Guys, I'm really sorry we're not able to have a camera on him at all times, but we're explaining what's going on. The engine compartment's very small, and naturally he takes up some space. So right now he's bolting on the heat exchange, the elbow, mixing elbow. It has 4 nuts on it that screw on to the screws that are coming from the heat exchanger, and this is where we were having a problem the last time because one of the screws was no longer any good. Thomas is saying do not tighten these too much
Because it's aluminum.
because it's aluminum, and that's why we had the problem last time, and the aluminum's a lot softer than steel. So what is a rule that you would say to tighten these? Like a quarter turn?
It's a feeling, I don't know, but normally
Okay.
there is a dynamometric value.
Okay.
No.
You just need to have it
If you want to be sure, you have to use the
torque.
torque. Yes.
Okay. So if you're doing this by hand, just don't over tighten it. Make it snug. So Thomas made a really good point there. If you want to be totally sure, you need to look at the service manual and see what the torque specs are, so you can use a torque wrench to put that on. Otherwise, you just want to make it snug and not over tighten, so you do not ruin that aluminum part.
Take this one out and grease them. I prefer to that.
Okay, good.
I just think about that now.
Okay, good. Do you need to put a new O-ring in there, or can you use the same
I will
O-ring?
use the same, but I want to grease them.
Okay, good.
Like
That's
that, the next time we come,
yeah,
it's easy.
that's smart. So what he's going to do now, even though that's built up, he doesn't want to trust that Yanmar has put grease on there. He's going to take off the unit and put grease on the O-rings, and we're going to show you how he's going to do that. So this will basically show you how to do the service on this unit. So that's a marker to show how it needs to line up when he puts it back together. Those little white marks.
Because look, there is no grease here.
Oh, there's no grease. Okay.
In 2 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have problems.
So he's putting the grease on there so that we don't have problems, because the grease helps stop the salt water from coming through. That's the electrolyte which causes the corrosion. And it's always good to grease up the O-rings. So here he is taking that out right now.
It's nice when it's easy when it's new.
Oh, it's easy when it's new. It's so pretty too, right? It's without blemish. Look how polished that is. And so here's what it looks like right there. Now the way you get that out is to open up the other side and just push it out?
Yes.
Okay. And it should just come right out, right?
Yes.
Okay. Problem with ours is it was corroded in there. So he's pulling out this and he's putting in the grease. So that does not, that's a silicone ring, right?
Yes.
Okay, but this does not hurt silicone. And then he's gonna rub some in the cavity to make sure that there's plenty in there.
Believe me, the next time you come, it's easy.
Good. So we'll just remember only beautiful things. We'll remember Thomas. When I open it up, I'll play the hallelujah music. Hallelujah. Thomas greased it. Thomas greased it.
Lequel?
Put plenty of grease. If we didn't have corrosion, we wouldn't have 80% of the problems on a boat. Corrosion's the big bugaboo. And not too tight, right?
Exact.
He says it's a feel.
Normally we have the talk, but
Right.
because I know, and because there is grease, it's okay.
Okay.
Now.
So not too tight. You can tell by the way he's doing that. But just to be exact, make sure you use a torque wrench. We're taking out the back side of the unit. And again, it's brand new. It's nice and easy. So this O-ring is really unique in that it goes right down the center.
It starts to
separates.
It starts to stuck already.
Oh no.
Oh, broke. I'm sorry.
Okay. No worries. I got another one. We have extra. Always good to have extra gaskets and extra patience.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Really careful to get it all over, and this way it's not going to stick. And now he's putting it on the actual gasket itself. Again, this is for the raw water, so this is even more important because this is where the salt is. And that gasket has to go exactly over that. Greasing up the bolts. And this is just common best practices for working on the engine, and it's things I haven't done in the past and it's caused problems. Don't let that happen to you. What he's doing next is he's reattaching the hose to the thermostat, and that measures the temperature of the coolant. He put those hoses back on. He greased them first, and yeah, Next is to do the alternator. And wow, look how new the engine looks with that fresh heat exchanger. Just so you'll know, here is the manual for our 3JH5E, and under periodic maintenance, if you look here under whole fuel system, lubricating system, this would be cooling system, which you see right here. There is no mention. It says to replace the coolant, to replace the seawater pump impeller, check coolant level. It also talks about when to replace the mixing elbow, exhaust, but nowhere does it say anything about the heat exchanger and replacing those gaskets. So this is like a real bad thing. So here we are on page 712 with the big service manual. You really need to get one of these things. Tells you a lot of what you need to know, and then it tells you what to remove the bolts, which basically Thomas has done, also the hoses. So there are torque specs right here for the bolt. That's for the cooling pump. Torque specs for the heat exchanger I don't see on this. We just saved this so we could reuse it because this stuff's good to go for like 5 years.
We're starting it to listen for any squeaking. The squealing is going to be... The squealing is what's going to be an indicator that the water pump or the bearing is done.
If this was your boat, you would...
I don't change now.
Okay, good. Okay.
It's not necessary.
Okay, good.
You change that when the motor starts to getting hot.
When it gets hot. Okay.
How long do you think we have before we have to make this change?
Maybe a long time.
Okay.
You said it could be...
That's why I don't change.
Okay, good.
But if
okay.
the bearing is going bad, that's a bad sign, right?
Yeah, if you start to hear this one every time,
Okay.
you have to change.
Okay.
But it's okay. It's
Okay.
strong power.
Okay, good.
So if you change the coolant often,
Yeah.
then that could last 10
Okay,
years.
thanks, Thomas.
Both engines going.